Hey everybody, Chris Ray Maldonado here. Welcome to the first Q&A. Yeah? Okay. I thought about doing this for a while, and I thought about doing it a weekly thing. And so I think I'm going to start doing that. Every Monday I'll do a Q&A. On Sunday I'll ask for your guys' questions. Or you could just post a question in the comment section of this video and I'll answer it in the next video. So the format of this video is going to be very, very different from anything I've ever done ever before in the past. And I'll show you the format of the video as I do it, and then afterwards I'll talk a little bit about it with you. So today I asked you, or I guess this is Monday, so yesterday I asked you guys for your questions, and you guys came out pretty well. So let's get started. I was a big fan of your earlier comedy videos. Are we ever going to see more of those? I don't know. A lot of the comedy videos that I did were really inside jokes with me and my friends. So I don't really think that they're a good fit. I know that very few people actually like them, but you know, I don't know if I want to put my time into making something that people aren't going to enjoy. There really are inside jokes, and they're really not something that the subscriber base of this channel will really understand, let alone find funny. So as much as I'm glad to hear that you like them, I don't think we're going to be seeing any of that stuff, though there are some new things coming. Not in the role of comedy videos per se. What is your favorite Rise Against album? I prefer Revolutions Per Minute. You know, I really should have thought about these questions before I answered them on camera. Oh man, my favorite Rise Against album. I really, really like Siren Song. Siren Song of the Counterculture was probably the one I listened to the most. But if I had to put a favorite in, if I absolutely had to choose, and it's hard because I really love all of them, but if I had to choose, I would probably say, I'd probably say The Unraveling. I think The Unraveling was really cool, because The Unraveling had a lot of songs that weren't really formulaic, and I don't know, it was a cool album, and you know, I hope to see more stuff like it. I'm not one of those people who says, oh, I wish Rise Against would do more of the stuff that they used to do. Blah, Rise Against isn't Rise Against anymore. There's always that part of the fan base, and there's always people like that, but I really love that style. Not necessarily like, ooh, like screaming, but like the kind of melodic punk rock that that album has a lot of. And I'm fine with the way they're doing music now. I would like more of a mix. I'd like to hear some of the new stuff. I'd like to hear new stuff, and I'd like to hear new stuff that sounds kind of like the old screamy sound. And I'd really like to hear more solos. I don't know if it's just that the guitarist currently feels like he can't express himself, or I don't know if maybe I don't know, maybe if the record company doesn't feel like solos are in or anything, but the older Rise Against songs had a lot of solos, and Zach's not doing a lot of solos, and I don't know, I miss solos. I miss solos in general. They're really not around anymore. When can we expect a 401 Kill cover? Definitely before I leave for school. It's one of those things that I really love. I love that song to death, so I'm terrified of doing it. I must have recorded at least, and I'm not even really exaggerating, over 50 covers of 401k, and I was happy with none of them. Absolutely none of them. And, you know, it's a tough song to do. It's not easy, and, you know, before I leave for school in August, I will get that out to you. But, man, it's a tough one, because I really want it to be as good as it can be. And right now, with my recording equipment and just the status of how I'm feeling musically, I don't think I can do it right now, but, you know, it'll come definitely before 2015. If 2015 comes and that song isn't out, you have total permission to make fun of me for the rest of my life. Is there anybody in mainstream music that you like or respect? Mainstream music. I don't know how you define mainstream music. Mainstream music as in, like, radio music, like Taylor Swift and stuff like that? It's a tough one, because I don't really, I don't know, I don't like Nicki Minaj, I don't like Taylor Swift, and I listen to pop, you know, I listen to K104 on a regular basis, just because it's kind of nice to hear just melodies and beats, even if they are completely brainless. Is there anybody in mainstream music that I like / respect? I'd have to say Lady Gaga for 2 reasons. And the first reason is that I feel like the music that she makes, while a lot of it is kind of like radio and very, very like, very churned out, I feel like there are also a lot of her songs that are very, very well put together. I feel like there are a lot of songs that are written well, and I respect her immensely for writing Born This Way. Although I didn't like that song, I thought, like, wow, it's really nice to be in a time where someone can write a song about that and have it be well received by the vast majority of people. You know, and I think she's one of the very few artists, might even be the last one, who is writing about things that aren't necessarily about her. She's writing about issues. And I like that. And I like that Macklemore does a little bit of that too. But I feel like Lady Gaga does a good job of writing about things. Even though they come across as very, very radio and very, very superficial, there's a lot of political attention behind Lady Gaga's lyrics, and I really appreciate that. Are you a fan of JRPGs? Oh, that's the first video game related question. You know, I'll be honest, man. I tried Final Fantasy VII. I played it for about 2 hours, and I got stuck. And I'd like to point out that I really do like the game. I think it's got a great atmosphere going, and I like the turn-based style of it. But I don't mend well with JRPGs unless there's like some kind of real-time element to it that makes it interesting. I'm just not a big fan of JRPGs. I'm open to suggestions, but most of the ones I've played have either turned out to be very, very boring, very, very dull, or they just didn't pique my interest. Final Fantasy VII did, although it's hard for me to get back into it because it's been a while since I've played it. I'm stuck at a boss that I can't figure out. It's going to take me a while to get back into the mindset, but I definitely plan on finishing Final Fantasy VII in my lifetime. But so if I had to pick a JRPG, I'd say Final Fantasy VII. I like it a lot. Pokemon, I guess you could count too, though I stopped playing at Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver. I think that was the last Pokemon game that I played all the way through. So yeah, if those count, I don't know if Pokemon qualifies as a JRPG or not. And I'll be honest, I'm not really educated on whether or not that's even an American-made game or not. Yeah. What is your favorite song by a mainstream artist? I'll be honest, I do like Timber. I know, kill me. You're free to kill me. But I do like Timber. I don't know, there's something about it. I think maybe it's the harmonica, or maybe it's just like the chord progression in general. It's got a really nice melody. The lyrics are shit, and I completely acknowledge it. But musically, it's a fun song. If I had to pick a favorite song, I'd probably pick Gypsy by, Lady Gaga, because that song, for some reason, for me, it resonates a lot. And the lyrics are really on point for me. Up until the point where she's singing about gypsies. But, you know, I don't know, there's something about that song that gets me really emotional, and, you know, it sounds to me like a very, very Elton John song, kind of like an 80s kind of rock ballad, kind of. I don't know, there's something about that song that makes me feel really good. So, I'd have to say Gypsy. And Timber as my favorite musically. Oh, wow. Wow. If Tim McGilwraith, I feel like I'm saying that wrong every time, and I feel like I really shouldn't because I'm such a huge fan of him. But Tim McElrath. I like saying Tim McIlrath. I don't know why. But if Tim McElrath leaves Rise Against, would you still listen to them? That's a really interesting question. You know, I feel like Tim is kind of the voice of Rise Against. As much as I respect Joe and Brandon and Zach, I just feel like Tim is the reason that I come back to it. And everybody in that band is incredibly talented, but Tim is the voice of the band. He's the gravelly voice. He's the political view. He's the I don't know. He's like the lifeblood of the band. I don't know if Rise Against would be around if Tim left. I feel like Joe, Brandon, and Zach would all leave to separate projects because I don't know if you could replace Tim. It's kind of like having Queen without Freddie Mercury, or you know, I don't know. It's like the Weird Al Yankovic band without Weird Al Yankovic. It's something that's very, very, very important to the DNA of the band. And, you know, Queen without Freddie Mercury is nothing. As talented as Brian May and the others may be, Queen's nothing without Freddie Mercury. And you know, I feel bad for saying that because I feel like I'm throwing the other guys under the bus. I feel like I'm throwing Brandon and Zach and... you know, I don't know. I just feel like he's the lifeblood of the band. It's like having Rise Against without Tim McIlrath is like Queen without Freddie Mercury. It's like a nation without a president. It's like the Xbox without Halo. Like, what is it if it doesn't have Halo? It's just a system, just like any other system. Do you feel like Rise Against is sold out? I really hate the idea of selling out and how it's defined by people. I don't think bands can sell out now. I think selling out today means something different than what it used to mean. See, selling out was Kiss. Kiss sold out. Because in the 80s, when the music industry was massive and all the proceeds that could ever be spent on music went to the people who made it, Kiss, even then, would say like, yeah, use our song in a commercial, yeah, use this, yeah, we'll sponsor your product, bro. But now it's like bands kind of have to do that because music is so easy to steal that the majority of the money that's being made off the music is either, you know, it's a very small percentage of the people who are actually downloading it. And, you know, when I first heard of Rise Against, I illegally downloaded every single one of their tracks because I didn't have money and I loved it. And then I bought all the albums anyway after I got the money to do so because I just respect them that much. But, man, selling out is bullshit. I don't think you can. I think in today's musical climate where your music can be instantly stolen and the majority of your profits are made from live appearances and corporate deals like having Savior in The Sims or like having Satellite in the trailer for that wrestling game that Rise Against had, or even that remix of Help Is On The Way for that racing game, I think. You know, I think that's kind of a necessity for bands now where it used to not be. And I think that's what people confuse about selling out. The second Rise Against makes a pop song about, oh, I love you, girl, then they have sold out. But they haven't done that yet. They haven't even remotely done that yet. And they're still as politically vigorous and they're still as powerful as they've always been. And I feel like they're still just as strong as they've always been. I don't see them selling out anytime soon. I don't think they have. Another video game one. With the Xbox One running at a lower resolution, are you still a fan of the Xbox or have you switched to PS4? I have neither system because I'm dirt poor, but, you know, I'm sorry, my eyes are kind of hurting. You know, I feel like the whole resolution thing is completely stupid. Because at the end of the day, you get a video game system because it has the games that you want to play. So, I'll be honest, no, it hasn't swayed me that the resolution is lower. Yeah, whatever, the resolution is lower, that sucks and everything, but the bottom line is the Xbox One has got the games that I want to play. I want to play Titanfall. I want to play Sunset Overdrive. I want to play Halo 5. and I also want to play Destiny. So what's the system that I can get all of those 4 games on? It's the Xbox One, whereas the PS4, Infamous looks kind of cool, I guess. Like, I like Infamous, I don't love it, and, you know, The Order looks kind of fine, but I'm not deeply interested. I'm deeply interested in Sunset Overdrive. I'm deeply interested in the Halo series, and I'm deeply, deeply interested in Titanfall, because Titanfall is fucking fun as hell. So, you know, it really comes down to the games I want to play, and right now Xbox One has those games. So, you know, I don't have a problem with the PS4, it's just really, it's not for me, I don't think. What's your favorite punk rock album non-Rise Against? People are gonna shit all over me for saying this, but it's a tie between... I'm scared to answer this because I feel like I'm gonna get crucified. But it's a tie between American Idiot and Dookie. Both of them Green Day albums. And look, right, you can have an argument about whether or not Green Day is punk rock, or whether or not they're even rock anymore. But, you know, you cannot deny how fucking great Dookie was. Like, Dookie was so fucking good. And American Idiot has has my favorite song ever by Green Day on it, which is What's Her Name. I love What's Her Name. And you know, I don't know. It's just there are a lot of songs by like The Offspring and other Bad Religion and Anti-Flag that I really like, but in terms of an overall album, there are songs that I think that are better than Dookie entirely. Like, there's one song on one of Bad Religion's records that's better than every single thing on Dookie or American Idiot, but as an album altogether, I feel like Dookie was like entirely great. And it didn't have like anything that was like, oh, this is crap, oh, this is kind of okay. It's like all of it was fantastic. And I think that's what that question ultimately means, right? What was the best album that you've ever heard, punk rock wise? And it's got to be Dookie. As generic as that answer is, and I know that that answer is an answer that everybody says when they say that, when they're asked that question, but it's, you know, it's true for me. I love Dookie. What exactly makes you hate anime? Oh, okay. So I assume this is a Twitter. This was I can't remember who or where I got each of these questions. I just sort of like named them out on the list. But I think this is one of my Twitter questions, which makes sense because I frequently rail against anime sometimes. It's not that I hate anime, it's just that, I don't know, I'm getting bored of it. I'm getting bored of the same art style in every single anime, and more importantly, it's the community. The community around anime is just dreadfully cringeworthy. It's awkward, and on top of being awkward, it's like there's a superiority complex. Like, oh, you don't like anime? What's wrong with you? I remember when it used to be not cool to like anime, and I'm not saying that in a hipster way, right? I'm not saying that I used to like anime because it wasn't cool, but I used to like anime, and I wouldn't look at somebody and say, oh, you don't like anime? You're pathetic. What are you doing? But now it's kind of like that superiority is taken over, and it's like, you don't like anime? It's like, it's become elitist, and I don't want any part of it. But on top of the community, it's just like, I feel like the medium's getting stale. I feel like they're on the 1 billionth episode of Naruto now, and I'm sick of it. I like stories that have resolution, and I think, you know, anime just doesn't do it for me anymore. I've heard you're a Tarantino fan. What are your favorite Tarantino movies from most to least favorite? My favorite? Inglourious Bastards. My least favorite is Pulp Fiction. But keep in mind that I absolutely love Pulp Fiction. But I just feel like in his overall filmography, that's the weakest. Which is a phenomenal thing to say, because everybody loves that film, but I think it's his weakest film. Which means I absolutely love Tarantino, and I do. I think Tarantino's fantastic. What are your top 5 interests? Okay, I'll just go through this without thinking. Video games, music, politics, film, and technology. I'm at 20 minutes, holy shit. Okay, I'll try to stop it before 25. How can you be a fan of Lady Gaga? How can you be a fan of Lady Gaga and be a huge fan of Rise Against? Look, man, people like different music, right? I mean, I don't know how to explain it better than that. Like, you can respect one medium without respecting, I don't know, I don't get that question. I feel like it's kind of like saying, oh, you can't like any pop if you like rock primarily. That's not true, man. You know, Freddie Mercury did a lot of pop, but he was like in one of the greatest rock bands of all time. I feel like you have to respect each and every genre for what it is, and if you can find something in each genre that you like, then that's good. I don't know. I don't like that question generally. Where's 21 Guns? Fuck you, Steve. That's an inside joke. When I started doing covers, or when I even started playing guitar, I think everybody would say, "Hey, play 21 Guns. Play 21 Guns." I'm not gonna play 21 Guns. I fucking hate 21 Guns. It's my least favorite Green Day song of all time, and that's that. I'm not lending any more time. Mac or PC? PC. I'm definitely more of a PC person. Though I own a lot of Apple. I have an iPhone and a MacBook. I prefer working with PC. I prefer being able to mess around with settings. Just as I prefer Android, I just don't have one right now. Did you like the finale of Dexter? I didn't watch Dexter. I was too busy watching Breaking Bad, an infinitely more superior show. I'm sorry. If you like Dexter, there's nothing wrong with that. Dexter's perfectly fine. But I don't know. I couldn't get into Dexter. And right around the time I was trying to get into Dexter, Breaking Bad came along and kind of like sucked me in, so now I'm like, I don't have any reason to go back to Dexter, especially considering what everybody told me about the finale. So, yeah, no Dexter for me. Sorry. Your songs have atheist... okay, 22. Your songs have atheist overtones. Do you ever worry that you're hurting the feelings of religious people when you write? My song... I don't know. This is kind of hard because the song... When I'm writing a song, I'm writing what I'm feeling. So, a lot of my songs do have atheist overtones because I find myself in a lot of religious situations. But they're never really vehement atheists. I think... Ultimately, any of my songs, if they're about religion, it's always about fundamentalism. It's always about the people who take religion to the point where they use it to justify horrible things. It's never like, oh, I never wrote a song like, oh, there's a nun doing nice things, fuck you. Like I've never written that song, and I don't plan on writing that song. I think religion can be used for very, very good, but I just don't think it's necessary for good to be done. I feel like religion overall, yeah, it helps people, but I think it's just something that's helping them that doesn't need to be there. I feel like if it wasn't religion that was helping them, it would be something else. And I think that a lot of the evil that is done in the world by people who justify it with religion, I feel like that can only happen with religion. And I feel like there's no real other justification for it. So, in other words, I feel like the bad that religion does is completely associated with it, whereas I feel like the good that religion does is kind of just something that exists whether or not religion does or not. I don't have any problem with religious people. I don't have any problem with religion in general, but it's just when the fundamentalist attitude happens, or when our laws in Congress in the United States are defined by people's personal religious beliefs, I feel like that's a problem. And so I write a lot about it, but in every one of my songs, even in the song that I wrote ages ago, My Religion, it's always about the people who say, like, my religion is right no matter what. It's never about the people who are loving others or treating people as actual Christians should. And in My Name is Heresy, I talk about the priests who rail against people for the choices that they make and condemn them, and say that if you are not a member of our religion, then you are nothing. And I hope I don't offend the religious people, but at the same time, you know, I'm writing what I feel, so if you're offended by it, I'm sorry, but that's just how it goes. Just know that it's nothing personal. So that brings us to the end of this Q&A. I hope you liked it. I hope you liked the format of this. If you didn't, let me know in the comments, and I'll gladly make a change. Chris Ray Maldonado, I'll see you next time.